today with Fox.
A very demanding ordeal in 9/11, and America was ready to respond.
And yet the nightclubs are open and the restaurants are open and people are going to work each day.
Yeah, we are tough and resilient people, probably much more than the Hezbollah assessed.
The former Israeli prime minister and decorated military veteran himself, Ehud Barak, part of our conversation with him earlier this evening on life here in Tel Aviv these days and nights. Rita, back to you.
And Brian, thank you very much. MSNBC's coverage of the Middle East crisis continues right after this, everybody.
Which of these stories will you be talking about tomorrow? Israel offers a ceasefire if the captured Israeli soldiers are released and Hezbollah pulls back from the Israeli border 20 miles into Lebanon. The Israelis seem willing to back off the elimination of Hezbollah. In the interim, they seem intent on eliminating Hezbollah. The diplomacy frustrates everybody. At the G8, the president forgets Rule 1. The microphones are always open. And if you want the UN's help, don't go using the S word.
See, the irony is that what they need to do is get Syria to get Hezbollah to stop doing this shit.
And open mic night wasn't over till Mr. Blair figured out that was a microphone. Brian Williams joins us from Tel Aviv on the diplomacy, Colonel Rick Francona on the tactics. And our exclusive interview tonight with Ambassador Joe Wilson, the lawsuit against Cheney, Libby, Rove by he and his wife, and his reaction to Robert Novak's remarkable conclusion about Valerie Plame.
I don't think I outed her.
No additional sources needed on this one. If it is not incredibly hot where you are right now, it just was, or it soon will be. And a second exclusive interview.
I'm so tired of thinking about myself, man. I'm sick of myself.
Our exclusive conversation with Brad Pitt. And when I say our, of course I mean Ann Curry's for the Today Show.
Yeah, sure.
All that and more now on Countdown.
It's true. It changes.
Good evening. If the fighting between Israel and Hezbollah has left you worried, angry, or confused enough to swear, you are in good company. Our fifth story in the countdown, the President of the United States similarly moved, telling British Prime Minister Blair at the G8 summit and through microphones he did not know were still open, the world, that Syria needs to get Hezbollah to stop doing this blank. That part of the story and what is seen as traction towards a ceasefire, and Brian Williams in Tel Aviv in a moment. First, the nuts and bolts of day 6 of the conflict. Israel hitting over 50 targets in Lebanon, including a rocket that was allegedly capable of reaching Israel's largest city, Tel Aviv. And for the first time during this clash, ground troops entered southern Lebanon, hitting Hezbollah bases near the border before they quickly returned to Israel. By air, the Israelis targeting roads and bridges, killing 9 civilians on one bridge near the southern port city of Sidon this afternoon. More than 200 people have been killed in Lebanon since the conflict began. In its capital, Beirut, Israel again hit the airport and the seaport, as well as Hezbollah targets in the southern suburbs. The unrelenting attacks on the city visibly evident during live reports from our Beirut bureau chief, Richard Engel, throughout this day.
Very loud explosion. And there are more loud explosions, as you just heard. Mediators are trying to work out a ceasefire, but apparently without success.
From the south, Hezbollah launched dozens of rockets into Israel, 20 of them reaching Israel's third largest city, Haifa, others hitting even further south to the town of Atlit, about 35 miles south of the Lebanese border. 24 Israelis have died since the conflict erupted last Wednesday, half of them civilians killed by rockets. As for the Americans stuck in Lebanon, the U.S. already evacuated some of them out by air, plans to use a Greek cruise ship to evacuate perhaps thousands more tomorrow. On the diplomatic front, what looks like movement towards at least the possibility of ceasefire. Israel's prime minister scaling back the demand for Hezbollah to be disbanded or destroyed, saying the hostilities could end if Hezbollah stops launching rockets, if it returns to kidnapped Israeli soldiers, if the Lebanese government puts troops on its border. The rest of the world still seeking to find a diplomatic consensus on what to do about the conflict. In public, British Prime Minister Tony Blair and UN Secretary Kofi Annan stood together to call for a United Nations force to stop the bloodshed. But in an off-guard moment with President Bush at the G8 summit in Russia, when neither leader remembered the first law of microphones, the language became less than diplomatic, with Mr. Bush not only dropping the S-bomb, but also slamming Annan before Mr. Blair played radio engineer.
What about Kofi? That seems all right. I don't like the sequence. His attitude is basically ceasefire and everything else happens. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I think the only thing I think is really difficult is we can't stop this unless you get this international business agreed. Now, I don't mean what you guys have talked about Israel, but as I say, I am perfectly happy to try to see what the lie of the land is, but you need that done quickly.
Yeah, she's
otherwise this
going.
will spiral.
I think Connie's going to go pretty soon.
Right, well that's all that matters. But if you see, it'll take some time to get that together.
Yeah.
But at least it gives people
There's some process. I agree.
at which you and
I told her your offer too.
well, it's only if it's if she's got or if she needs the ground prepared, as it were. Because obviously if she goes out, she's got to succeed, as it were. Whereas I can go out and just
See, the irony is that what they need to do is get Syria to get Hezbollah to stop doing this shit. It's over.
because I think this is all part of the same thing.
Yeah.
Look, what does he think? He thinks if Lebanon turns out fine, if you get a solution in Israel and Palestine, Iran goes in the right way.
Yeah, he's through.
He's had it. And that's what this whole thing's about. It's the same with Iran.
I felt like telling Kofi to call, get on the phone with Assad and make something happen.
Yeah.
We're not blaming Israel. And we're not blaming the Lebanese government.
On the other hand, the meal was great. More on that in a moment. First, the former president, Mr. Clinton, laying out his position on the current conflict, telling NBC's Campbell Brown that it is vital for the U.S. to be fully engaged in the Middle East.
I'm not one of these people who believes that it's a good thing for the U.S. to be disengaged from the Middle East because they're not going to make a deal, and we don't want to be associated with failure. I just don't define it that way. I think the historical evidence is the more involved we are, the fewer people die. And the fewer people die, the easier it is to make some kind of compromise deal.
As promised, I'm joined now by Brian Williams, the anchor of NBC Nightly News, reporting from Tel Aviv. Brian, thanks for your time tonight.
Keith, it's my pleasure.
A telling moment from President Bush at the G8, especially if you juxtapose it against President Clinton's attitude towards the whole issue of diplomacy in the Middle East. Is there a sense there in Israel that President Bush has not done enough diplomatic work to help bring about peace in that region, at least compared to his predecessors?
Well, I can't pass judgment on that. I can say that when we asked the question of a senior Israeli defense official today, a general, how long do you see this playing out? He said at least another week or two. When people talk about the near future here, Keith, they don't add the caveat unless a diplomatic solution can be reached. It's kind of a siding of this conflict, and it's not front burner here. Day-to-day life is taken up by the fact that the north of Israel is kind of a ghost town, who fired the last volley, how the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, answered back.
The president at the G8 evidently laying the responsibility for bringing that date a week or so hence closer entirely on Hezbollah and Syria and in part on the UN. He's hinted at sending the Secretary of State to the region, but does it feel on the ground there as if Israel is indeed, as it reported widely, receptive to all these diplomatic overtures, or as you suggested, is there already kind of a schedule, if not a roadmap, to get out of all this?
Well, in this case, the reporting of our colleague Martin Fletcher, which has been so superb, as you know, throughout this crisis, has also been very telling in these details. Martin was among the first to report that this was really, as you know, Keith, a kind of a plan that was on the shelf, 5 years in the making. Now it was confirmed to us today, yes, they are picking targets of opportunity as they come up on their computer screens. Where they see a Katyusha rocket launch, they then go after that. But there is a sense that something has to play out. Andrea Mitchell termed it a kind of de facto green light. Others have called it a wink and a nod, that this paroxysm has to work itself out. One point I would make has plainly to do with the balance of power. It is, as you're seeing it play out on television. On this side, you have Hezbollah. Estimates are 10 to 13,000 rockets in reserve. How many have they fired so far in this conflict? On the other side, you have the clearly superior technologically and in terms of raw firepower military of the Israelis. They rule the sky, they rule the night. Their F-16s can drop a 2,000-pound bomb from 10,000 feet. But both sides have their issues and have seen great damage suffered.
Speaking of the rockets and Hezbollah, Israel claimed they destroyed a rocket that could have been capable of reaching Tel Aviv. Is that playing on the minds? Is that in the atmosphere in Tel Aviv tonight?
Well, we just got back from a quick sortie on foot around the neighborhoods surrounding our NBC News bureau here. One point that was made by the locals is you may see more people dining out at the sidewalk cafes because they are northerners who've been temporarily displaced. This was, as far as I can tell, both from memory coming here many other times in the past and talking to the folks who live here, a perfectly average working Monday in Tel Aviv. Even though if sirens sound during this conflict, it'll be the first time since the first Gulf War in '91. Even though the people of Tel Aviv have been told, keep in mind where the closest shelter is. They can maybe have 2 minutes warning if the sirens sound. That was an ominous development, the blowing up of that missile that they say could have been range enough to put this within the sphere of influence.
Let me get a little earthier as the final subject to discuss. The president's comments, the ones he did not intend to be broadcast nationally, but the microphones were open. The expletive is out there now. People in the United States don't seem to be overwhelmingly fazed nor surprised by it, but is it playing well in Israel? Is it playing at all?
It is playing. I've watched it tonight with a few of the locals. It is getting a chuckle. This president uttering a word we cannot repeat or utter on television. They have their minds on other matters here. It was the context of the answer, not necessarily the language used, that, as you mentioned earlier in the interview, was of note.
The message got across one way or the other. Brian Williams, anchor of NBC Nightly News, of course. As always, sir, our great thanks for your time.
Keith, thank you.
How long can the fight between Israel and Hezbollah play out? Might it have been a little over the top for Newt Gingrich to declare this World War III? Our coverage of the Middle East crisis continues, and tonight, a Countdown exclusive. Ambassador Joseph Wilson joins us for his first TV interview after he and his wife filed their lawsuit against the Vice President and Scooter Libby and Karl Rove. You are watching Countdown on MSNBC.
V8 presents V-Fusion. If you think getting a full serving of fruits and a full serving of vegetables into a single juice is amazing, wait until you taste it. New V8 V-Fusion Juice. Don't just live, thrive.
My name is Leonard Ross. I was born in 1906.
The Dust Bowl, the Depression, and 2 World Wars. That's just a few of the things Rosie Ross has seen in his lifetime. Through it all, he's had 2 great loves, music and his own independence.
If it's Friday, I'm playing at the Pinecone Inn.
Long-term care insurance from Genworth Financial can help you live on your own terms in your own home, receiving covered benefits where and when you choose. Genworth Financial, insurance for living, solutions for life.
Can an odor-free cream stand up to your back pain?
You benefit Aspercream.
Aspercream is clinically proven to knock out the pain with the maximum strength formula that's odor-free. Arthritis pain stopped?
You benefit Aspercream.
You may have just heard Brian Williams report that Hezbollah is believed to have 10 to 13,000 rockets in reserve and that the Israelis have about a week's worth of long-cherished targets left. Is this conflict on a schedule? And could anybody seriously call it World War III? That and Joe Wilson ahead. This is Countdown.
When does the best-selling car in America become the best car for America? When does an engine become an engine of change? Introducing the first ever gas-electric Camry with hybrid Synergy drive. It's time to move forward.
They can make you rich or poor. They're your customers. So in our business, we don't just create games, we create a bond and hope someone will treat us the same way.
Open arms. It's how Jen and Julie approach their customers. And why during peak season, we raise their credit line overnight. Open. How American Express serves small business.
Taking you closer to Washington's biggest stories. Hardball, weeknights at 7.
Tomorrow, 25,000 Americans trapped in a war zone. What will it take to get every U.S. citizen to safety? Scarborough Country, MSNBC, tomorrow at 9. Tomorrow, Lebanon, a nation torn apart by decades of civil war. Now, ground zero in a violent international conflict. How did the country end up in such crisis? And where will it go from here? The Mideast Crisis, an MSNBC special report. Tomorrow at 10, only on MSNBC.
Start simple, bring in some fresh ideas, and mix it up. With a little money.
Little pain, little love.
And a little time. I'm on a roll. Watch small changes make a big difference. When you design on a dime.
Saturday nights at 10, only on HGTV.
Design on a Dime is brought to you locally by Homescapes. Enter to win one of 3 Beam Central vacuum systems during our grand opening.
Comcast, focused on community.
World War III has been forecast many times before, some even of the belief it has already happened. The term first used to describe the Cold War of the 20th century, recently gaining currency in reference to the Bush administration's war on terror. Our fourth story in the countdown, World War III Episode 3, History, or at least Newt Gingrich, once again jumping the gun, apparently, the former Republican Speaker of the House, among the first to suggest that it is not too soon to begin framing the current showdown between Israel and Hezbollah, a showdown that is not yet even a declared war between countries, as the next great worldwide conflict. That there is a political benefit to raising the specter of apocalyptic destruction, not lost on Mr. Gingrich, who told the Seattle Times over the weekend that he is very worried about the GOP's chances in the fall elections, adding that public opinion can change, quote, the minute you use the language of World War III, the message, Mr. Gingrich believes, becoming, okay, if we're in the Third World War, which side do you think should win? For a reality check, time now to call in retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Rick Francona, who spent years in Iraq working as a liaison to the Iraqi military before the first Gulf War, working as well for the CIA in northern Iraq. After that war, he is, of course, now an MSNBC military analyst. Colonel, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
Not to suggest that what's happening right now in the Middle East isn't serious, or to overlook that it might not escalate in a dozen different ways and maybe a dozen others we can't even imagine. But considering there are signs that Israel might be talking ceasefire here, is the use of the phrase World War III at this point inflammatory, irresponsible?
I'm not going to put those kind of terms on it, Keith, but it certainly doesn't apply. Let me say that. I mean, right now this has been limited to Gaza and Lebanon, and hopefully it's going to stay that way.
Does the ceasefire report return the Israeli soldiers, back up Hezbollah 20 miles into Lebanon, put Lebanese troops on that border? Does that sound like the viable outline of a ceasefire, or are there roadblocks we don't know about?
I think the roadblocks are the distance, and that's not quite been ironed out yet. The Israelis want to move the Hezbollah, anything that has to do with Hezbollah, out of the launch envelope of anything that can strike northern Israel. And we've already seen demonstrated results of Hezbollah using longer range rockets than that. So how far up are we going to push Hezbollah into Lebanon? If you believe that they've got a rocket that can go 60 to 80 miles, are we going to push Hezbollah 60 to 80 miles up into Lebanon and put the Lebanese army between them? That pushes Hezbollah all the way up to Beirut.
On where this is going, you heard Brian Williams' report from Tel Aviv and the expectations there that there is the prospect of this being at an end by perhaps this time next week. Are there other players, though, in this equation who could conceivably benefit from this escalating, and do they still have the prospect of escalating this further?
No, I really don't see the benefit to any one of this escalating. People have said, well, Syria, Iran are behind all this. But if you look at the localization of the conflict, I mean, it's still in Lebanon. No one wants this to expand to Syria. Syria certainly does not want to get involved in a war with the Israelis. They know they can't win it. They would be perfectly satisfied if this ended in a ceasefire. So I think you're going to see a lot of pressure put on both sides. Iran and Syria probably pressuring Hezbollah to accept something, and of course the rest of the community pressuring Israel to accept something.
You mentioned Syria. Has Iran's role in this been surprising for its seemingly they did not press this possibility of making something worse in the Middle East?
Well, I think the Iranians have calculated this pretty well. They stand to gain in this. In fact, they were the ones that were recommending some sort of ceasefire, even offering their good offices to talk to Hezbollah. Well, it's kind of disingenuous since many people believe that they were behind all of this. If you believe some of the theories, it's that Iran was trying to deflect attention from their nuclear program, especially during the G8 conference.
And Rick, the plans about getting the Americans out of Lebanon, the helicopters today, we're talking about a cruise ship tomorrow, might be 750 people at a time on that ship.
Yeah.
Is there any fear that could present an easy target for Hezbollah rockets?
Yeah, there is. And Hezbollah has demonstrated the capability to strike ships. We saw them hit that Israeli missile patrol boat. So there's a security and logistics team on the ground now. They arrived yesterday, and it will be their job to assess the security situation and make the arrangements with the Lebanese government, with the Israeli Navy, who is operating the naval blockade, and also with any other elements, and that includes Hezbollah. And you can reach them through the Lebanese government. In fact, they make up part of the Lebanese government. It's their job to make the arrangements. And the problem is not going to just be this ship, Keith. It's going to be getting the people to the ship. There's a lot of Americans who are trapped down in there in Sidon, Sur, and that southern Beirut area. And just getting them to a safe place to get them to the ship is going to be very, very difficult.
And if somebody wants to make that worse, that's probably the easiest and worst way to do it.
Absolutely.
MSNBC military analyst, retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Rick Francona. As always, Rick, great thanks.
Sure thing, Keith.
On a busy day, an uneventful space shuttle landing is taken for granted again, although not this view of it. You are on board. And forget that Angelina dame. We've got an exclusive interview with Brad Pitt. Ooh, ahead on Countdown.
New improved Roundup. Now so effective it even beats the weather. Now Roundup kills the roots so fast, nothing can stop it, not even the rain. New improved Roundup. The best gets even better.
Ah, so fresh. Yeah, fresh out of dignity.
Chips Ahoy! In the new Snack and Seal package.
Keeps your cookies fresh.
A 7-speed automatic transmission, a 268 horsepower engine. Start a summer romance that lasts a lifetime. The Mercedes-Benz Summer Event. See your local authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer for a great lease offer on a powerful 2006 E350 sedan.
The birth of the next generation of online investing. Now E-Trade technology gives you the power to easily manage cash, research, allocate, invest, analyze, plan, and borrow to make every dollar as productive as possible. Be leader of the pack.
Between my two phone bills, it's probably about $60 a month.
About $150.
Probably $100 a month.
With Vonage, you get unlimited calls to anywhere in the U.S. and Canada, and all the cool features you could ever want are included. And it's just $24.99 a month.
Call 1-800-398-4813. Go online or visit these fine retailers.
Vonage, leading the internet phone revolution.
There are a million reasons to travel. There's one site to search before you go. Kayak.com. More options, more savings, more results. Life's a trip.
I feel these tingling sensations deep inside my legs.
It's a tightening feeling that keeps me from getting to sleep.
For me, it's creepy crawling. I feel like I have to get up and move just to get some relief.
My doctor said it's restless leg syndrome, or RLS. He prescribed Requip, the only RLS medication approved by the FDA. He said Requip would help relieve my RLS symptoms, even the uncontrollable leg movements that disturb my sleep. Requip helped me make peace with my legs.
Requip may cause you to fall asleep or feel very sleepy during normal activities such as driving, or to faint or feel dizzy when you stand up. Tell your doctor if you experience these problems, or if you drink alcohol or are taking medicines that make you drowsy. Side effects include nausea, drowsiness, vomiting, and dizziness. Most patients were not bothered enough to stop taking Requip. Ask your doctor if Requip can help put your RLS to rest.
It was not exactly the infamous screamer from the New York Post describing a murder robbery at a strip joint, headless body in topless bar. But 71 years ago today, the entertainment publication Variety published perhaps its most famous headline about movie chain owner Joe Kinski of Nebraska, insisting his customers there did not want countrified films like the Ma and Pa Kettle series. They preferred sophisticated fare like the Count of Monte Cristo. Sticks, nicks, hick, picks. On that note, let's play Oddball. From the It's Not Necessarily Odd News, but it's Headline Video department, we bring you the landing of Space Shuttle Discovery at Cape Canaveral in Florida. It is cool because it landed safely. It is extra cool because this time we got the pilot's eye view of the action, and it is 3 times as cool when we speed up the tape and run it over this crazy music. Whatever else you may think of NASA, you have to admit, the director of putting cameras in cool places is doing a real bang-up job. In fact, he's today's real man of genius. Real man of genius. And there's this guy, today's real man of stupid. We're in Columbia, Tennessee, and here's to you, Mr. Driver of a leaky paint truck guy. Police followed the yellow drip road for more than 4 miles down Highway 31 before they caught up with the driver. He's been charged with vandalism because police say he knew he was leaking paint. Luckily, his brother drives a leaky turpentine truck, so from truck leaks to the more serious kind, the outing of CIA officer Valerie Plame. Her husband, Ambassador Joe Wilson, joins us for his first television interview since they sued the Vice President, Karl Rove, and Scooter Libby. And warm weather comes with the territory. It is July 17th, but when everywhere from Albany to Albuquerque is broiling, that's a heat wave. Details ahead, but first here, Countdown's top 3 newsmakers of this day. Number 3, Tiffany's. It has recalled its new sterling silver baby rattle. Cost $195, also built in such a way that it could come apart and baby could swallow these small Tiffany beads contained within. Baby will now have to settle for a lapis ring or something. Number 2, Wayne Floyd, fined $20,000 today. He was arrested as he tried to board a flight from Sydney, Australia to Bangkok last November. Customs agents had discovered 6 eggs from various endangered species, including some cockatoos, on his person. They were hidden in his underwear. Mr. Floyd said he was just trying to surprise his girlfriend. Speaking of eggs, number 1, our friends at CBS. The eyeball logo and slogans for its TV shows will appear on 35 million eggs to be sold at grocery stores. 35 million. That means 34 million of them will advertise one of the CSI shows, right? We've also got a suggestion for a slogan for the other ones. The CBS Evening News with Katie Couric. We'll have egg on our face real soon.
I got eggs on my face. I got eggs on my face.
It's back to school, and Best Buy's got what kids need to succeed. Like laptops with fingerprint scanners for extra security. Convertible notebooks that let you jot notes directly on the screen for new ways to learn. And Media Center computers that let you record, watch, and pause live TV. Check out the Gateway Convertible Notebook with dual-core technology. It's a perfect blend of performance and creativity. Save big for back to school, now at Best Buy.
If your day's like most people's, it's not easy to get all the fruit and vegetable servings the USDA recommends, unless you bring the produce section with you. Or just start your day with a glass of Florida orange juice. One 8-ounce glass counts as almost 25% of your daily recommended fruit and vegetable servings. Florida orange juice. Healthy, pure, and simple.
Joe says yes. Yes to Beaverton Mitsubishi. Yes to the 2006 all-new Galant SE. Yes to the 2006 Outlander. Yes to the 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Joe says yes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at joesaysyes.com. The newest, fastest way to qualify for a car loan. Good credit, bad credit. Been turned down? Well, Joe says yes to the financing you need on all new Mitsubishis. Beaverton Mitsubishi at 9350 Southwest Canyon Road. Or go to joesaysyes.com. Now it's easy and fast to get to yes at joesaysyes.com.
Did you know? Comcast customers, did you know? If you're moving, you can easily transfer all of your Comcast services by logging on to comcast.com/move. From here, you can have your services transferred and set up an installation appointment all at once. And did you know? Jazz aerobics is a fun way to burn some extra calories. Work it out.
Did you know? Office Depot, a leader in mobile technology, can build a notebook computer to the most important specs of all, yours. Office Depot will customize a notebook to help you go wireless wherever your work life takes you. Now build an HP Pavilion with Intel Centrino mobile technology and an all-in-one printer starting at $499.99 after mail-in and instant savings.
Taking care of
Let's see what other lies, what other hidden truths can be revealed. What are you gonna do now, cry, punk?
You exist out here because of me.
When it comes to being a cop, I am strictly business.
You know I'm innocent.
Slurper, now on cable and satellite.
Were it Robert Novak indicted and not Scooter Libby, his defense attorneys might already be suggesting a plea deal. Were it Robert Novak sued and not the vice president, nor Mr. Libby nor Mr. Robe, his defense attorneys might already be suggesting a settlement. Our third story on the countdown, Ambassador Joe Wilson's first television interview since he and his wife Valerie Plame filed suit against Cheney, Libby, Rove et al. It is necessarily framed by Mr. Novak's remarkable appearance yesterday on Meet the Press. In 2003, Mr. Novak told the New York newspaper Newsday that he did not dig out the name of Valerie Plame, that it was, quote, given to me. They thought it was significant. They gave me the name and I used it. Later in 2003, Mr. Novak clarified that statement, saying, what I meant was that the senior official had given me her name. Reminded last week of the original quote, Mr. Novak said it was not true. Newsday had misquoted him. Yesterday, Mr. Novak offered yet another explanation that the error was his, a misstatement that, quote, they didn't give me the name. And it's all semantics anyway, since Mr. Novak has concluded that in writing the column 3 years ago last Friday that triggered a crisis of confidence in the Bush administration, led to the indictment of the vice president's chief of staff, and now to a lawsuit against a sitting vice president of the United States, he didn't jeopardize nor expose any covert agent anyway.
I still believe, I don't think there's any question that he got to sign that because of his wife, and that was a small part of a very strange assignment. The answer to your question, I don't know. But no regrets outing a CIA agent? I don't think I outed her. I think she was outed by Aldrich Ames before. I don't think she was a covert operative.
That, of course, contradicts what the special prosecutor, Mr. Fitzgerald, said in announcing his indictment of Scooter Libby nearly a year ago. In July 2003, Fitzgerald said the fact that Valerie Wilson was a CIA officer was classified. Not only was it classified, but it was not widely known outside the intelligence community. As promised in his first television interview since the filing of that lawsuit, the former acting U.S. ambassador to Iraq, Joseph Wilson. Thank you again for your time tonight, sir.
Good to be with you, Keith.
Let's start with Novak. Your reaction to his conclusions?
Well, I didn't watch it yesterday. I just saw your setup piece, and Novak is telling another story to another interviewer. When I talked to him on the phone after he published his article, he had told me that he had a CIA source, and then he quoted 2 senior administration sources. I went back and asked him what was it, CIA or administration. He said he misspoke when he said it was CIA. Now he's saying Harlow was one of his sources. Harlow, who was the spokesman for George Tenet out at the CIA, has been reported on several occasions as having said he told Novak not to use Valerie's name. That, by the way, is sort of the standard CIA language for warning a reporter who may have stumbled on the identity of an operative not to violate the national security of the country by exposing that operative's name and identity.
To say the least, his statements seem a little unclear, a little self-contradictory. He's not the only one in this case of whom that could be said. Is that the point or a point of this lawsuit, to clarify for the record who did and what and why?
Well, I think getting the truth out is obviously one of the objectives. We'd like everybody to know precisely what happened. We'd like to know precisely what happened and why they did this. I think the broader issue, of course, is whether or not individuals who have enormous power in our democracy should be entitled to use that power to exact personal revenge, which, of course, is what this administration did from Mr. Cheney on down.
One of your attorneys, Mr. Chemerinsky, was on this newscast Friday. He said that the details of what happened and the political element to all this are all relevant, that they're not the point, that the point is the damage you and your wife sustained or may yet sustain. If you got the truth on the record under oath of what happened, a timeline of some sort, a clear picture, but there were no damages, maybe not even a verdict in your favor, would that be enough from your perspective?
Well, I'm going to leave all that, it's a hypothetical, I'm going to leave all that to play out as it may play out going forward. First of all, we need to get the suit accepted in court, which I think we'll probably succeed in doing.
One critical aspect of the suit would seem to be the sense that physical danger to you and your wife and your family resulted from the revealing of her work with the CIA. Your critics, on the other hand, have suggested that the danger could not have been that great if she was photographed for Vanity Fair magazine or you were both seen at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. How would you rectify the idea of threat with those public appearances?
Well, Mr. Novak's wife is in no danger whatsoever until such time as somebody compromises her identity as a CIA operative, if in fact that's what somebody decides they're going to do, if in fact that is what she is. It is a fact that Valerie worked in a very sensitive position in the intelligence services that obviously brings about a certain level of security threat to us. Which level has been, we've been exposed to it. There have been threats made to us that have come to our attention through the intelligence community. So these are not just your right-wing Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity listeners.
Can you go into any detail about that, or is that something that will be coming out in the course of the lawsuit?
I don't know if it'll come out in the course of the lawsuit. I'm not going to go into any detail on it other than to say that it is happening. We've been informed about it, and law enforcement authorities have taken appropriate measures as they saw fit.
As to process here, not in the lawsuit, but what all that has led up to it, are you any clearer in your mind as to what exactly happened than you were 3 years ago? Are you certain, for instance, that the exposure of your wife was deliberate and not some sort of inadvertent result of incompetent people playing with fire?
Well, when you see the vice president annotating a copy of my opinion piece with did his wife send him on a junket, that's essentially a talking point to his staff. So the uncovering or the compromise of her identity was clearly deliberate. Question is why. I think we now know from a number of the filings in the Libby case that the vice president thought that his manhood was threatened, or certainly that was the excuse, that somehow he felt, having read 3 articles that perhaps I was suggesting he had sent me. Ironically, none of those 3 articles say it. The Christoph article, the Spencer Ackerman article in the New Republic, and my own article all make very clear that it was the office of the vice president that asked the question. It led the CIA to send me. Vice president later acknowledged that he asked the question. Indeed, I would argue that the vice president was well within his rights and his obligations to have asked the question, because if Saddam had purchased uranium from Niger, it would have been only for a nuclear program. It was a question worthy of asking. It was a question that got a serious response. The fact that vice president didn't read the articles and somehow thought that he was being targeted in this is unfortunate, but that's his problem. That's not my problem. I wrote my article. He just didn't read it very well. My own view, of course, is that that's just a subterfuge, that they decided that rather than come clean on a misstatement of fact, a falsehood in the State of the Union address, they decided this was one way that they were going to justify this character assassination and smear campaign, and part of which was a compromise of Valerie's identity.
And that route was, what do you think at this point? Was Rove to Libby to Cheney to Rove to Libby? Do you know that yet?
I suspect, my theory is that Cheney basically annotated the article, which was the equivalent of saying, well, no one rid me of this troublesome priest, and Libby and perhaps others, and Mr. Rove certainly then went around and leaked Valerie's name, among other things. Now, Libby argues that they just wanted to get the facts out. Of course, the facts that they didn't get out in leaking this information were that the White House had been told on 3 occasions in early October, we don't want the president to be a witness of fact in this matter because the evidence is weak and the British have exaggerated the case. The Deputy National Security Advisor later offered his resignation because he found these documents in his files. Getting the facts out did not include getting the National Intelligence Officer's letter out, which was circulated around the administration in January and represented the consensus view of the American intelligence community that the Niger claim was, quote, baseless. Those were not the facts they were getting out. The stuff that they were getting out were just basically the crap, for want of a better word, that had seeped into the State of the Union address in the first place.
An appropriate term to use on this day that we played the clip of the president at the G8 summit.
I could have quoted the president, I suppose.
One more item here that tracks back to what Novak was saying. He didn't say it yesterday. Evidently, he will not say it. But it has been widely reported that his original source was the former Undersecretary of State, Richard Armitage. I read an article this afternoon from Christopher Hitchens. Hitchens says that because Armitage had let me get it right, a visceral hatred of the neoconservatives, Armitage, as Novak's source, annihilates the idea that there was any Bush administration vendetta against you. Would it do so?
No, I don't think so, because I think it's now very clear that there was a vendetta. The vendetta was run out of the vice president's office. It was Scooter Libby, and it was Karl Rove. We know that. We know that they were leaking Valerie's identity to the press. That is all in testimony. So whether or not Novak was part of that other plot, or whether or not Novak was just a sidelight in all of this, I have no idea. Hopefully, when we go through discovery, we'll be able to learn some of this.
Ambassador Joe Wilson on the very beginning of that part of the road. As always, sir, great thanks for your time.
Good to be with you, Keith.
Thank you. The exclusive interviews are not over quite yet here on Countdown. Brad Pitt sitting down and talking to us, and by us, I mean Ann Curry of the Today Show. But our people will be pushing the play button on the machine. Thus, it is our exclusive. And the intense heat gripping every corner of the continental United States, nowhere is it exclusive. Is there any end in sight, or was Al Gore wrong by being too conservative about global warming? Details ahead here on Countdown.
Tomorrow on Scarborough Country, 25,000 Americans trapped in a war zone with no easy way out. How far is our government willing to go to bring them home? Joe investigates exactly what it will take to get every U.S. citizen to safety. Scarborough Country, MSNBC, tomorrow at 9.
Tomorrow on Today, a simple drive can make you sick. Get the germs in your car before they get you. Plus more on the Middle East in crisis, only on Today on NBC.
We've always wanted a home that's unusual.
With a view of the sea. Find your perfect place. It's easy at RE/MAX.com. Nobody sells more real estate than RE/MAX.
Your risks are always evolving. Shouldn't your insurance stay in sync? Travelers.
Ambos, chicken noodle possibilities. Slurp noodles broth, slurp some more. Good, that's for sure. Slurping's fun in every way. Wholesome Campbell's makes their day. Possibilities.
When immigrants landed at Ellis Island, they brought a dream. Work hard, opportunity will follow. At TD Ameritrade, it's no different today. You bring your own drive to succeed, they'll help in every way. With people who'll sit and talk with you about your strategy, solidly independent research, straightforward pricing. The new TD Ameritrade. Independence is the spirit that drives America's most successful investors.
Depending on just where you're watching this from, your weather is set on bake, broil, or perhaps melt. And the red-hot glare of media attention, Brad Pitt in an exclusive interview on why he's dragging cameras to trouble spots around the world. That's next. Countdown. Doing this, really? Hearing this.
We know responsibility is a round-the-clock job, but if your home is ever damaged by fire, we have help standing by 24 hours a day. Responsibility. What's your policy? Liberty Mutual.
Pop quiz. What compact sedan gets up to 34 miles per gallon, has more power and space than Corolla, and starts under $12,000? Is it A, the Kia Spectra, B, the Kia Spectra, C, the Kia Spectra, or D, all of the above? Correct! You picked the Kia Spectra, and with the 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, there really is no other choice. Starts under $12,000 after cash back. The award-winning Kia Spectra, the best value on the road.
Hello, I'm a Mac. And I'm a PC. And I'm a PC too. And what? Yeah, see, now you can run Mac OS 10 or Windows on a Mac. So in a way, I'm kind of like the only computer you'll ever need.
Ah, touche.
No, I don't think you're using that right.
Touche.
No, listen, see, you can only say touche if you make a point and I make a counterpoint. You see, so I said I run Windows, but you haven't made a point yet. Let's try it again. You can get a Mac and still run all your Windows stuff. Touche? Never mind.
Weather is weather. It's summer. It gets hot in summer. But in our number 2 story on the countdown, when it gets hot in summer everywhere all at once, that's news. On the daily list of high and low temperatures for 104 American cities issued by the National Weather Service, 87 of them hit 90 degrees or higher yesterday, and that was before the heat wave fully consumed the Northeast this morning. Here's Kevin Tibble's hot lead from Chicago.
Sunup in Chicago, temperatures already in the 80s and climbing fast.
It's tough. You just keep going.
Highway signs warn of excessive heat.
Each day that the severe heat persists brings more danger.
The hot weather has already claimed the life of a 3-year-old South Bend, Indiana boy who accidentally locked himself in a car. Today, every state in the lower 48 except North Dakota hit the 90s. 26 broke 100 degrees and 4 hit 110 or more. From California, where crews continue to battle wildfires, to the plains where crops burn up in triple-digit heat. In Denver, an overheated transformer caused a major power outage at the Museum of Nature and Science.
When the power goes out and we have to close the museum and have to have everybody head out of the museum, it's a huge disruption.
In New York, extreme heat may have caused a subway train to lose power, leaving 70 passengers stranded in the heat for 3 hours. In the Midwest, thunderstorms may bring some relief, but heat alerts remain in effect as Americans chill out.
It's good to get in the water.
Any way they can. Kevin Tibbles, NBC News, Chicago.
Water, not the relief, but the killer in Indonesia. Another deadly tsunami there, this one hitting an area of the country, ironically enough, that had been spared by the catastrophic tsunami of 2004. A 6-foot-high wall of water crashing into the southern coast of Java Island this afternoon, sending thousands of people fleeing for higher ground. 86 people there have died, many more are missing. In the beach resort of Pangandaran, one witness said that the water line withdrew 1,500 feet about half an hour before the tsunami came ashore. That would have been the only possible warning, since Indonesia's tsunami warning system has not yet been extended to the island of Java. On to keeping tabs on the unexpected result of last Monday's story of a doctor who apparently chose to blow up his multi-million-dollar townhouse rather than sell it as part of a divorce settlement. He has died of his injuries. Dr. Nicholas Bartha was in the $6 million building on the Upper East Side of New York City when it exploded a week ago today, after someone believed to be Dr. Bartha tampered with the natural gas line. His death Saturday night has now been declared a suicide by the medical examiner's office. A judge had ordered the doctor out of the townhouse so it could be sold as part of his divorce. But in a lengthy email sent less than 2 hours before the explosion, Dr. Bartha said, quote, "I will leave the house only if I am dead." 10 firemen and 5 passerby received minor injuries in the explosion. And the Kentucky Derby winning horse Barbaro is still holding on against all odds. Veterinarians saying the horse's condition has now been stable for 3 consecutive days. Barbaro had been suffering from a potentially fatal disease in his left rear hoof, a complication arising from placing too much weight on that side nearly 8 weeks after he shattered his right hind leg during the Preakness Stakes. 80% of the hoof was removed. Barbaro's prognosis was poor, but now Dr. Dean Richardson says, quote, "His vital signs are good, he is acceptably comfortable, and his appetite remains excellent." Also tonight, Brad Pitt in a rare sit-down interview. Blah, 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 charity, blah, 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 fatherhood, blah, 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 Brangelina. That's ahead, but first time for Countdown's latest list of nominees for worst person in the world. Our bronze tonight to Mayor Bill Saravanosky of Rockdale, Australia, just outside Sydney, to disperse drivers who went to the town's main park to race and raise mayhem. The city began to blast over loudspeakers. He collected hits of Barry Manilow. Again and again and again. Drove away the drivers, also drove the local residents nuts, said Maya Dunn of the neighborhood, "I don't know how I will cope. Copacabana, the hottest spot north of Havana." The runner-up, Dr. Barish Strauch, chairman of plastic and reconstructive surgery at Montefiore Hospital in New York. The New York Post reports that among 13 active malpractice suits against the doctor are charges that during one tummy tuck, he removed the woman's navel, and in a breast reduction surgery, he lost a patient's nipple. Well, you did ask for a reduction. But tonight's winner, Coultergeist, again, for the same thing. She went on another radio show to suggest staffers of the New York Times be executed. Hey, Annie, you do realize that there are chowderheads out there even stupider than you are, and they don't get that you're a screaming fraud, and that they read or hear what you say, and then they send envelopes full of white powder to the Times like they did last week, and that one day somebody at the Times, probably some guy in the mailroom, is going to get hurt, and it'll be on your conscience if you have one. Ann Coulter, today's worst person in the world.
She turned around and left the cave, and I'm standing there by the pool of water alone, like I am in all of my dreams. And it just brought up a whole bunch of issues that...
Tym piórze nie ma atramentu.
What?
I wtedy możemy zacząć dopiero pracować.
Using a broker you can't understand doesn't make much sense either. That's why Edward Jones speaks in a language you can understand, so financial decisions get the attention they deserve. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Without strong shoulders, who would support them? One A Day wants you to stay strong for them. Because as early as 30, women can start to lose bone mass. That's why there's One A Day Women's, a complete multivitamin with twice the calcium of Centrum. One A Day Women's.
Who doesn't love the fresh taste of Chips Ahoy?
I guess it's my time.
Chips Ahoy! In the new Snack and Seal package.
Keeps your cookies fresh.
Why do I like working here? I'm part of something big. I'm part of the future. I bring people together and send smiles, literally. Michael's my son. We have a good time together. Michael thinks my job is pretty cool. What I like the most is that Verizon Wireless works as hard for me as I do for our customers. Through our tuition reimbursement program, I earn my certification. As I grow, the company grows. I am Diane Mundy, Verizon Wireless Project Engineer. It's very exciting to be part of something like this.
Dude, we are so stoked.
Going hell aboard, dude. It's rock, dude.
10-4.
Hey, dude, I think that dude wants you.
Well, that's just the pilot.
Dude, not the pilot?
No, I've never done this before. But I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Stay smart. Stay at a Holiday Inn Express.
Can an odor-free cream stand up to your back pain? You bet if it's Aspercream. Aspercream is clinically proven to knock out the pain with the maximum strength formula that's odor-free. Arthritis pain stopped? You bet if it's Aspercream.
See yourself thinner. It's no mirage with new Dexatrim Max 2.0. Just add to water for a healthy way to curb appetite, feel deliciously full, and boost energy. Make your vision real. Power your water. Empower yourself. New Dexatrim Max 2.0.
Nice shot.
Join me, Peter Jacobson, along with Lauren Roberts, Craig Stadler, and Tom Watson at the 2006 Geldwin Tradition, presented by Umpqua Bank, August 21st through the 27th.
Crisis in the Middle East, volatile, changing every second, now global reaction and America's next move. An MSNBC special report next.
We have breaking show business news, and when I say breaking, I mean, of course, that it's about 20 years old. It is legend that before he succeeded in Hollywood, young Brad Pitt from Kickapoo High School in Springfield, Missouri, supported himself in Southern California by dressing up in a chicken suit and standing outside the famous fast food place El Pollo Loco. He also chauffeured strippers in limousines around Southern California. Our number one story in the countdown couldn't have been worse than what he had to do in Meet Joe Black. And after the trials and tribulations, he ended up with mega success and Angelina Jolie. Brad Pitt now has become interested in giving something back, most recently as an advocate for so-called green designs in the rebuilding of New Orleans, the kind of structures that would be less harmful to the environment. With him in that city, with an exclusive interview of him, here's Ann Curry.
I'm baffled because the people here on the ground have not gotten the money yet. They have not received restitution.
Nearly a year after Katrina, Brad Pitt sees firsthand a city still ravaged.
We can get in the car from this spot and we can drive for 2 hours and we will see this, we'll see more of this, and it's staggering. It's unsettling.
By some estimates, something like half, 50% of this city is still abandoned.
Yeah, it's shocking. And one of our greatest cities. But you see it, there's house on top of car, and this is a story you'll find street after street. Imagine going through the trauma of this, of watching everything you own be swept away, maybe loss of life, and then sitting in this limbo for a year, wanting to get your life back, but not knowing whether, if it's even possible. Are there going to be schools here? Are the hospitals going to be up and running? Are your neighbors going to be back here?
To this shattered city, Pitt is bringing a new idea called green design. That is, a way to rebuild using materials that are less harmful to the environment and cheaper for people to live in.
Right now, 45% of our pollution comes from the creation of our buildings and the operation of our buildings, which is a staggering number.
Joining the nonprofit group Global Green, Pitt announced an architectural competition to green design a 12-unit apartment complex. It drew 3,000 registrants from all over the world, now narrowed down to 6 finalists. Not only are you talking about it, you've put some money into this project.
Yeah, sure. I'm sponsoring this competition. I'm invested in this competition.
I understand about $100,000.
So far, but you know, my goal is to see something tangible, to see something built that can become an example and a template and a flagship for other people who are facing rebuilding.
The finalists suggested ways to build that could cut energy costs by as much as 90% and use materials that would decrease the risk of asthma and other health risks. The excitement generated over plans for a single apartment complex is an indication of just how acutely help is needed. Sandra Reed is a community leader.
Everything, every single thing about our lives is impacted. Katrina is still raging for us every day. In my neighborhood, where there was maybe 70% low to moderate income renters, they can't afford to come home because rent is so high.
What do you say to people who react by thinking, you know what, this idea is just too idealistic, too far-fetched for an area that needed houses yesterday?
Absolutely, and building quickly and building with little labor force as possible. We're sitting here in the middle of New Orleans, and they have a shortage of homes. Rent rates are through the roof. A family living here is struggling with $100 a month in electricity bills, $200 a month. And you could get that, you could knock that down 90%, where it's $10 or $20 a month. It is possible and relatively easy as soon as we change our building practices.
Brad Pitt, who has been bringing attention to some of the world's most desperate places, is now trying to do something for New Orleans. He is a man just getting started. Something's happening to you to make you want to do this stuff because you're doing more and more of it.
Man, I got kids now, and it really changes your perspective on the world. And you know, I've had my day. But I've made some films, and I've really had a very fortunate life, and it's time for me to share that a bit.
Angie says that. She says that the reason why she does so much humanitarian work is because having children, she feels a greater responsibility. That she
It's true. It completely changes your perspective, and and certainly takes the focus off yourself, which I'm really grateful for. I'm really grateful to them. I'm so tired of thinking about myself, man. I'm sick of myself. I can't do justice to it any more than any other parent can. You feel that you want to be there and you don't want to miss out on anything, and it's a true joy. And you want to be there for them if they need anything, and it's a true joy.
Love.
Yeah, it's a very profound love, yeah. Best thing I've ever done. You know, you can write a book, you can make a movie, you can paint a painting, but having kids is really the most extraordinary thing I've ever taken on, and man, if I can get a burp out of that.
New York stood up after a very demanding ordeal in 9/11, and America was ready to respond.
And yet the nightclubs are open and the restaurants are open and people are going to work each day.
Yeah, we are tough and resilient people, probably much more than the Hezbollah assessed.
The former Israeli Prime Minister and decorated military veteran himself, Ehud Barak, part of our conversation with him earlier this evening on life here in Tel Aviv these days and nights. Rita, back to you.
And Brian, thank you very much. MSNBC's coverage of the Middle East crisis continues right after this, everybody.
Right now, rockets and missiles explode in the Middle East as Israeli warplanes pound Beirut again. Is a peace deal possible, or could Israel invade Lebanon again? This is my Hardball. Good evening, I'm Chris Matthews. Tonight from San Francisco, welcome to Hardball. New attacks in Beirut going on right now on the sixth day of fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. What will take it to stop this war? Hezbollah fired at least 100 rockets at Israel in the last 24 hours, and Israeli airstrikes have continued on two fronts, devastating targets in Lebanon and destroying the Palestinian Foreign Ministry and the Hamas headquarters in Gaza. As fighting continues, there are at least small signs that a diplomatic solution is at least possible. Israeli officials say they'll stop fighting if the two kidnapped Israeli soldiers are returned and the Hezbollah militants withdraw from the border. Hezbollah is not expected to accept those terms, but Secretary Condoleezza Rice is making plans to go to the Middle East to help end the fighting, indicating that at least some hope remains for a deal. Meanwhile, 25,000 Americans are in the middle of a war zone. We'll talk to NBC News Pentagon correspondent Jim Miklaszewski about the military's plans to evacuate them. But we begin tonight in Lebanon, in Beirut itself, where Al Jazeera and Lebanese TV itself are reporting that Israeli warplanes are once again striking Hezbollah strongholds in southern Beirut. NBC News Beirut Bureau Chief Richard Engel joins us now. Richard, what's happening right now in Beirut?
There are Israeli jets in the sky over the city now. I've been hearing them flying over our heads and dropping bombs in that area of South Beirut behind me. There have been about 12 airstrikes. They've been coming quite regularly as we've been hearing them whiz by, go overhead. It's a building up of strength and then dropping their bombs. This was just one area that has been attacked. This location not far from here where today Hezbollah tried to fire the longest range rocket in its arsenal.
Lebanon is burning. 50 more Israeli airstrikes today, 600 in the past 6 days. But few areas look as bleak and punished and primeval as South Beirut's Hezbollah stronghold. Israel also attacked Beirut's port and factories, hospitals and bridges across southern Lebanon.
I don't care about rockets. All I care about is that I don't pay the price for somebody else's crime, okay?
As we waited to file a report, we heard an explosion. Israel had attacked a van of Hezbollah fighters trying to launch rockets. But the airstrike set off a rocket. It turned out of control and headed right for us, but fell harmlessly. A close call for us and Israel. U.S. and Israeli intelligence say the rocket was a Zilzal-2, range 60 miles, a 1,200-pound warhead. With all of this today, the British Foreign Office organized the biggest evacuation of its citizens since World War II. And France mobilized as well. French embassy officials say they don't know exactly how many of their nationals are being evacuated today, but that they will be allowed to come until this ship is full. Now, Americans are increasingly asking when it will be their turn. At the American University in Beirut, Sarah Johnson from Natchitoches, Louisiana, can't leave her dorm.
You don't even flinch anymore when you hear missiles or sonic booms.
She keeps a blog, a main topic, the U.S. Embassy's slow response.
So far, I'm getting more information from my family back home who are watching the news than from the embassy.
2 more American helicopters arrived here today with security assessment teams. But Americans we spoke to said these assessments should have been done right from the beginning. Chris?
Let me ask you, Rich, do you know whether the Hezbollah units are intending to go any further into Israel with their strikes?
Absolutely. There was an attempt to launch that long-range rocket today, and there is no indication that they are planning on stopping those kind of attacks. Just the opposite. Hezbollah says it has long-range rockets, intends to use them, and that could be one of the reasons we see so many Israeli aircraft in the sky tonight to try and prevent them from launching deeper attacks into Israel.
On the peace front, on the peacemaking front, is there any chance that the Lebanese government has the strength or the will to go in and replace Hezbollah on the Israeli border?
The simple answer is no. It doesn't have the strength and it doesn't have the will. If it doesn't have the strength because the Lebanese army is very weak. Hezbollah is much more dedicated, motivated, mobilized along the border area. And it doesn't have the will because if the army went into a position that it was confronting Hezbollah, that would mean it's effectively allying itself with Israel. It's not willing to do that. It also would confront, it would also stir up sectarian tensions in this country and potentially start even a civil war.
Well, that bottom lines it. Thank you very much, Richard Engel, NBC Bureau Chief in Lebanon. Martin Fletcher standing by in Haifa, Israel. Martin, what's the latest there in terms of the bombing, the rocket attacks from Hezbollah in Lebanon?
There's lots of them, that's the short answer, Chris. Despite 6 days heavy Israeli shelling, Israeli military sources say Hezbollah still appears to have plenty of rockets to bombard Israel for months.
They've got 13,000 rockets. Are the Israelis afraid, especially the ones living in very developed areas like Haifa, usually safe from attack, that Hezbollah will just exhaust its rocket supply in the months ahead?
Well, you know, no one's hoping here that it's going to take months. They're hoping to sort this out within days or weeks, preferably, you know, obviously as soon as possible. Hezbollah's, those numbers, 13,000, you know, it's obviously an extraordinary number based in South Lebanon, facing Israel over a very small area indeed. The Israelis say, or the analysts here say, they believe that Israel has degraded Hezbollah's strength by about 25%. That's the figure they use in the last 6 days of fighting. 25% of 13,000, that leaves about another 8,000 rockets still there.
Let me ask you about the impact on Israeli life there. How is it different in Haifa from the Haifa you've known all these years?
Oh, it's an incredible difference, Chris. First of all, Haifa is a beautiful area. You see this behind me in the lights. It's a wonderful, peaceful bay area. Now suddenly, it's a war zone, effectively. The citizens here who have it's known as a peaceful, quiet place that people come to rest, beautiful beaches. Suddenly, there's random death from the skies. Katyusha rockets just falling very suddenly, 8, 10 a day. I think of all in the last 3 days, Haifa has been hit by about 40 or 50 rockets. So you can imagine the difference. People are frightened. They've cancelled all activities for children. Summer camps closed. People leaving their homes to go south. Very frightened, but all very resolute at the same time, Chris, behind the government. They say, despite their fear and their suffering, they're behind the government for the time being anyway, saying that we have to remove this threat from Hezbollah and they'll take it for as long as it takes. That's what all the citizens here are saying to us, Chris.
Great report. Thank you very much, Martin Fletcher in Haifa. Now to Jerusalem. Raphael Frankel is a reporter for the Christian Science Monitor, and he joins us on the phone. Raphael, the sense there in Jerusalem of what's happening to the major cities of Israel.
Well, Chris, I mean, everyone's obviously very worried about what's going on here. And we had a major speech in the Knesset this evening from the Prime Minister, Ehud Olmert, saying that, you know, these are moments in the life of a nation when it must look reality in the face and say no more. And that's basically the way Israelis are looking, as Martin just said, at this war right now. They are seeing it as a very justified and a necessary war in order to secure the northern border. And there's a lot of sympathy just around the country, not just in Jerusalem, for everyone up in the north.
Which way are the public leaning, if you can generalize? Are they leaning toward a longer, more persistent campaign against Hezbollah, or a quick cleanup of this effort through a ceasefire?
I mean, what the government is saying now, and the military anyways, is saying at least one more week, if not two, that the military campaign is going to go on, that the airstrikes are going to go on. As far as the public is concerned, I think they've basically steeled themselves for at least a few weeks, if not a month worth of fighting, and also prepared themselves for what might possibly happen is Hezbollah hitting Tel Aviv. We had a situation today where the Israeli army says that the Hezbollah guerrillas were on their way to fire a long-range missile into Tel Aviv, and luckily the Israeli Air Force was able to shoot it down. So, you know, the public is ready for at least, I would say, a few weeks, if not a month, and the Army is saying at least another week, if not a little bit longer.
So to size things up from the perspective of your report, it looks like we're getting Haifa hit, and it never got hit before. We've got potential fears, or rather current fears, that Tel Aviv might be hit because of the range of these rockets, and a commitment by the people of Israel to back the government as far as it's going so far, which is to try to dramatically reduce the power, the rocket power, of the Hezbollah forces in Lebanon. Is that about it?
Well, that's exactly right. You know, the people here have gone through a lot. Obviously, as you know, the history is a very violent one here, and they've steeled themselves for this confrontation, and they feel like in the end they'll prevail. Okay, thank you very much, Rafael Franco with the Christian Science Monitor on the phone from Jerusalem. Joining me now from Washington is the Ambassador of Israel, Daniel Ayalon. Thank you very much, Dan, for joining us tonight. Give us, you know America as well as anybody in America. You know our sense in watching this thing. Tell us what you think we ought to know that we're not getting in the stories on the television so far.
Well, Chris, I think what we see here is an historic moment in the Middle East. It's not just a matter of our kidnapped soldiers. It's not just a matter of the security and well-being of our citizens, which is very important. 1 million Israelis are sleeping tonight in bunkers and bombshells. It is the fate of the entire Middle East and much beyond. On the one hand, or the one side of the divide, we see Iran and Syria, two very extreme regimes. We see Iran with a motivation to increase its influence in the Middle East, to push its agenda of radical Islam with no tolerance whatsoever to other civilizations. And they are moving ahead. They are moving in Iraq with the insurgencies. They're moving in the territories, in the Palestinian territories with the Hamas. And now they're moving in Lebanon with the Hezbollah. So this is a determining moment, and a blow to the Hezbollah, to the effect that we neutralize them from their capabilities. That will be a victory for the entire free world and also the Arab moderate countries.
What is the definition of success in this campaign? Is it the reduction in the number of rockets Hezbollah has? Is it the distance between the Hezbollah forces and the Israeli border? How does your government measure success?
Well, the only way we can measure success is the full implementation of United Nations Security Council Resolutions 1559. If the entire international community was very resolved and determined when this resolution was taken into effect 2 years ago, we wouldn't have been in this situation now. And 1559 called for the dismantling of the terror organizations, specifically the Hezbollah. It called for the exercise of sovereignty of the Lebanese government through the deployment of their army on our border. And this is what we should see.
President Bush to say, let's skip the dirty word he used, the familiar word he used. It didn't shock me, certainly. But let me ask you about the meaning of his comment off the cuff to Prime Minister Blair when he said, all we need to end this conflict is for Hezbollah to stop what it's doing. Is that enough? It sounds like that's not enough from an Israeli point of view.
No, well, it is. And in fact, you know, we have the greatest respect and admiration for the president in leading the world on the war on terrorism. And it is a war. And the Lebanese part, the Hezbollah part, is also a part and parcel of the entire global terrorism which is attacking us. We are in a war which was imposed on us. We did not start it. And for the Hezbollah to stop doing what it does, of course it needs the influence of Syria and of Iran. Without these two countries, the Hezbollah would not be able to do what it does. It has amassed a deadly arsenal of weapons in huge proportions. which is what we are witnessing now. So it is very important to neutralize Hezbollah, because otherwise they will keep holding all of us, not just Israelis and Lebanese, but the entire region as hostage to their radicalism and to their very dangerous policies.
With their new long-range rockets able to reach apparently something like 90 miles, some of them, how far back do you have to push them from the Israeli border to be safe?
It's not just a matter of pushing them backward. It's a matter of applying a new political arrangement in Lebanon. I think this is what is the most important. And if the Lebanese government, which, by the way, I take issue with your correspondent over there, it is willing to take Hezbollah on. It is willing to deflect its influence and to disarm them. But they are not capable. It is true, because Hezbollah, as we see, is such a potent force because of the supplies from Syria and Iran. Hopefully, at the end of this stage of military campaign, they will no longer be a strong military force which will enable the Lebanese to take over politically. And with that arrangement, I think the entire region will be much safer.
Do you believe the Lebanese government will be able to speak its mind and heart after this campaign?
I hope so. I think that, in the short run, certainly we see them speaking differently, but in the long run, and certainly in their heart of hearts, and also when we hear other responsible Arabs in the region, all of them want to see the demise of the Hezbollah as a terror organization with military capabilities.
Okay, thank you, Ambassador Daniel Ayalon, a very familiar figure in Washington. Up next, much more from the Middle East. We'll hear from reporters in Haifa, Damascus, and Jerusalem, all coming up on our live report coming up now, plus the latest on what world leaders plan to do, including U.S. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice. You're watching Hardball live on MSNBC.
Trying to decide how to paint your house can really be frustrating. You can spend thousands of dollars and hire an expensive painting crew to do it for you. You could take your vacation time and paint it yourself the slow, old-fashioned way, or you can paint like a pro and spray it the fast and easy way with Wagner's amazing paint crew. The time-saving paint crew turns you into a one-person painting crew, so you get the job done in half the time while saving thousands of dollars and increasing the value of your home. You paint fast and you paint smart with Wagner's paint crew. Twice as fast as you could with a brush. Because the affordable paint crew has quality, high-performance features, like the kind you find on expensive professional sprayers, but for a fraction of the price. Take a look at this. The airless piston pump and professional-grade metal spray gun give you the same spray pattern found on high-priced contractor units, so you can spray in any direction. Down on decks, straight on walls and fences, and up under soffits. Wagner's lightweight paint crew has everything. It's portable, and it holds 2 gallons of paint for increased spraying time, and has a 25-foot high-pressure hose for greater maneuverability. You can't beat its versatility. Spray sealer and stain on decks, oil-based paint on concrete floors and brick walls, even today's thick exterior latex paint without having to thin it. The paint crew makes even the toughest jobs faster and easier.
Call or log on now to order Wagner's amazing paint crew for just 4 easy payments of only $49.99. The portable paint crew has high-performance features like an expensive professional sprayer, but for a fraction of the price. Try the versatile paint crew risk-free for 30 days. If it doesn't cut your painting time in half and save you money, send it back for a full refund of the purchase price. But wait, order now and you'll also receive the paint crew roller accessory and roller cover that quickly turns your paint crew sprayer into a power roller. Now you can also paint your interior walls like a pro in half the time. This $30 value is absolutely free when you order now. Whether you're painting your house, deck, fence, or floors, you'll paint fast and paint smart with Wagner's versatile paint crew. Call or log on now.
Coming up, Arab leaders, if not the Arab streets, say Hezbollah made the wrong move with its attacks on Israel. Are they afraid of Hezbollah's sponsor, Iran? When Hardball returns.
Great Floors can take care of all your flooring needs with great products, great selection, and great deals every day. That's no bull.
Right now during Great Floors Carpet Closeout Sale, get high-quality carpet as low as $4.88 a square foot.
We also offer 90-day same-as cash on all carpet purchases. Plus, get a free 3x5 area rug with any purchase of $1,000 or more. Great Floors, home of the no bull deal. Stop by today at Northeast 82nd Avenue in Portland or off Highway 212 in Clackamas. We'll see you there.
exceeding your expectations since the beginning of time. Stars Cabaret.
Don't miss the 10th anniversary party going on all month long at Stars. On July 15th, get wet at the H2O party. On the 29th, it's Bites, Babes, and Brawls. And on the 31st, it's the final giveaway of the custom BMC chopper. Go to starscabaret.com for more info.
Torn apart by civil war, now ground zero in a violent international conflict. Where will it go from here? An MSNBC special report tomorrow at 10.
At this hour, Israeli warplanes are striking Hezbollah strongholds in the southern suburbs of Beirut as the Mideast crisis rages into its 6th day. Arab leaders have had unusually strong words for Hezbollah as this conflict unfolded. Hardball correspondent David Schuster has this report.
Along the Israeli-Lebanese border today, the attacks continued. Israeli forces pounded Hezbollah positions in and near Beirut, and Hezbollah rockets rained down on more than 20 Israeli towns and villages. But as the world saw British and U.S. military helicopters today starting to evacuate citizens from Lebanon, there were signs of hope for the broader Middle East. In several Persian Gulf states where the Arab street is often strongly anti-Israel, Arab governments are now chastising Israel's enemy Hezbollah for, quote, unexpected, inappropriate, and irresponsible acts. Last week, Hezbollah guerrillas crossed into Israel and kidnapped 2 Israeli soldiers in a raid that killed 8 others. This weekend, as the battle between Israel and Hezbollah intensified, Arab leaders gathered at an emergency summit in Cairo. And Saudi Arabia's foreign minister said of Hezbollah, quote, these acts will pull the whole region back to years ago, and we cannot simply accept them. It is rare for Arab leaders to criticize an Arab organization attacking Israel, especially as images of the destruction wrought by Israeli forces is beamed into Arab living rooms across the Middle East. But the willingness of some leaders to defy public opinion underscores 2 new realities along the Persian Gulf. In many Arab countries, the ruling class is now far more concerned about their fast-growing economies than about waging a war on Israel. And fears are growing about the influence of Iran. On the economy, the Persian Gulf states, thanks to their oil reserves and stable relationships with the rest of the world, are in the midst of a construction boom and unprecedented level of wealth. On Iran, Arab leaders see a troublemaker that is extending its influence. The anti-U.S. rhetoric and Iranian support of Hezbollah appeals to the Arab street, and the Arab street and Muslim masses are a possible threat to leaders from Jordan to Egypt. The delicate politics were evident at the G8 meeting in Russia, where world leaders offered a unified voice condemning Hezbollah.
One should not be allowed to abduct people and shell other states.
At the United Nations, criticism of the United States was muted when the U.S. rejected a resolution demanding an Israeli ceasefire.
I think before you get to ceasefire, you have to look at what the causes of the conflict are. I think you would have a ceasefire in a matter of nanoseconds if Hezbollah and Hamas would release their kidnapped victims and stop engaging in rocket attacks and other acts of terrorism against Israel.
Today, Israel's prime minister said he would stop the war if the kidnapped Israeli soldiers were released. Hezbollah stopped launching rockets over the border, and Hezbollah backed away from the border. But getting Hezbollah to leave South Lebanon may not be very easy. And in the Middle East, what you see and hear publicly can often mask the furious and hard-fought negotiations behind the scenes. And when it comes to some Arab leaders, it's possible their criticism of Hezbollah is only an effort to try and box in Iran. Still, American analysts are calling some of the statements a dramatic and significant departure from the history of the Arab-Israeli conflict. I'm David Schuster for Hardball in Washington.
Thank you, David Schuster. Ann Bernard is the co-bureau chief in the Middle East for the Boston Globe. She joins us now on the phone from Jerusalem. And your sense of the potential here for any kind of resolution to this conflict?
Well, today, Israel's Prime Minister Ehud Olmert made a very tough speech to the Israeli parliament. It was a very passionate speech, and he seemed to be reiterating most of Israel's demands, that Hezbollah withdraw from the border, stop firing rockets into Israel, release the captives, and that the Lebanese army deploy on the border between Lebanon and Israel. He didn't specifically say that Hezbollah has to be dismantled before Israel stops shooting, but he did continue to say that a UN resolution calling for the dismantling of militias must be implemented. He was a bit vague about when. So maybe there's a small amount of movement there. Behind the scenes, Israeli officials, according to Lebanese officials, have made overtures saying that maybe just a ceasefire and a pullback by Hezbollah would be enough. But that's not confirmed by Israel.
We're seeing an increasing pattern in world affairs where the United States is the lone supporter of Israel in the world. Is that the perspective from the capital there, from Jerusalem?
Well, here, people certainly have noticed that President Bush has not echoed calls for a ceasefire. They find President Bush to be the most pro-Israeli president that's come along in a long while. And they're certainly happy with that. On the other hand, there are people on the Israeli left and Palestinians who are very disappointed that people aren't taking an opportunity here to maybe go back to the Arab League's initiative from 2002, where they talked about a comprehensive peace in the Middle East based on Israel withdrawing to its 1967 borders, giving up the West Bank back to Palestinians, and getting recognition from the Arab world for this.
In other words, you're saying that the Israeli people, as concerned as they are about their own welfare, may feel that even the most pro-Israeli president in years may have lost his ability to use his leverage with the other major powers and the Arab countries.
Well, that's right. I mean, there's a very interesting opportunity here, and also a danger for Israel. Israel has on its southern border with the Gaza Strip and in the north with Lebanon, Islamist groups that have won election through have won power through democratic elections. Now, President Bush had called for those democratic elections, and now Israel's in a bind dealing with these groups in power on its borders. So the problem is, how can President Bush be consistent with his calls for democracy and still keep up his unwavering support for Israel?
Well developed. Thank you very much, Ann Bernard from the Boston Globe. She's co-bureau chief there in Jerusalem. Up next, thousands of people are fleeing Lebanon right now across the Syrian border to escape the fighting. We'll go inside Syria tonight to see what's happening there. That is always intriguing, what's happening in Damascus. You're watching Hardball on MSNBC.
Everyday carpet cleaning used to mean hassling with a vacuum. Now it means the Swiffer Carpet Flick. It's easy to use, lightweight, cordless, and it fits into tight spaces easier than a vacuum. Just flick, trap, and toss. Swiffer gives cleaning a whole new meaning.
Did you know that every time you use your computer to email, shop online, or search for information, you put yourself at risk for identity theft? And all the antivirus software in the world can't protect you. But the CA Internet Security Suite can. It's a complete security solution from the company used by 98% of Fortune 500 companies. And right now, you can try it for free. It's the software that automatically detects and eliminates spam, spyware, pop-ups, and viruses, and has a special stealth feature that makes you and your computer invisible to hackers. You get all the latest protection from fraud, phishing, and identity theft in one simple but powerful tool. Plus parental controls that block offensive content and protect kids from being solicited online. CA's Internet Security Suite does the whole job automatically and updates itself daily to keep you a step ahead of the latest threats instead of days behind. You could buy and install dozens of individual security tools on your computer and hope they all work together to protect you, or get CA and get total protection in one world-class product with all the same award-winning security technologies that Fortune 500 companies rely on every day. It's the only product with this amazing assurance of confidence. If your computer is ever damaged and disabled by viruses, we'll pay you up to $1,500 to replace it, plus an additional $5,000 worth of identity theft protection. Try it right now and experience the complete protection and peace of mind that only CA can provide. Just go online to www.caforfree.com right now. Click the download link and try CA for free. It detects and eliminates spam, spyware, viruses, and pop-ups, and protects you from fraud, phishing, and identity theft. And it's the suite that includes world-class parental controls. You don't have to be a Fortune 500 company to get Fortune 500 protection. Take control of your computer and your privacy. Try CA's Internet Security Suite right now for free.
Tomorrow on Scarborough Country, 25,000 Americans trapped in a war zone with no easy way out. How far is our government willing to go to bring them home? Joe investigates exactly what it will take to get every U.S. citizen to safety. Scarborough Country, MSNBC, tomorrow at 9.
Welcome back to Hardball. We've heard several big explosions tonight in Beirut itself as Israeli warplanes continue to strike Hezbollah strongholds there. Thousands of Lebanese are streaming across the border with Syria to try to get out of harm's way. NBC's Carrie Sanders filed this report earlier tonight from the capital of Damascus.
No violence here in Damascus, but plenty of anger as thousands took to the streets in a state-sponsored pro-Hezbollah rally, chanting, "We will get Israel back." The borders remain the big issue here. More than 150,000 refugees have crossed from Lebanon into Syria, and they continue to do so today at about 2,000 an hour. Like the Salah family, who arrived here, 9 members with their luggage, unsure where they're going to spend the night. Meantime, Iran's foreign minister met with Syria's vice president today and said that he believes a ceasefire and a prisoner swap would be acceptable and fair. Thus far, Israel has rejected any prisoner swaps.
Thank you, Carrie Sanders in Damascus. Up next, we'll have a live report from Jerusalem and more on what the U.S. is doing to end this fighting. And by the way, log on to hardball.msnbc.com for my special vlog, because you can see me on this ongoing crisis. You're watching Hardball on MSNBC.
My disease is called osteosarcoma, and it's a bone cancer.
This could kill her.
No child should die in the dawn of life.
First thing out of Matthew's mouth is, "Mommy, I'm scared." I said, "Matthew, that's okay, because I'm scared too."
Every day, over 200 children come to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital for help.
If I could change places with my daughter, I would have done it in a heartbeat.
Never in my wildest dreams would I ever think that my child had cancer.
These could be your kids, and we need your help today to save their lives. Call now and be a St. Jude Partner in Hope. You'll help provide breakthrough treatments, research, and cures.
There's a never say quit attitude with that hospital. Good is not good enough. They want greatness.
Every day, every moment matters when you're fighting for children's lives.
She has a serious disease that kills. St. Jude is the place that's going to cure her.
Please call now and help save precious lives for only $19 a month. Every month you'll receive a photo and story of a child you're helping. We depend on you to see that no child is ever turned away because of the family's inability to pay. St. Jude's scientists and physicians work side by side, day and night, to find cures and save children's lives. They've more than tripled the survival rate for childhood cancers.
If you want to see your money go to a great cause and help good people, St. Jude's is the place to do it.
Only 62 cents a day, $19 a month can make all the difference for a child who's fighting to live right now. A tax-deductible gift of any size will go to work immediately. Your compassion, your call today will help save thousands of children.
St. Jude's isn't going to give up. We're not giving up. We're going to fight till there's a cure for this cancer.
Please, call the number on your screen right now. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children.
Hi, it's John for Decatur Broadway Ford at the Rose Quarter. Get a new 06 Fusion, just $99 down, $199 a month. $99 down, $199 a month for an 06 Ford Fusion. Become a customer for life with tires, car washes, rental cars for life, and more at Dick Hanna's Broadway Ford at the Rose Quarter. History is about to be made. Holy mackerel. That's nice.
Hey, is this the famous Beetlejuice? I recognize you from the Howard Stern Show.
Hey now.
Howard TV, the new on-demand channel for digital cable. To subscribe, call 1-877-9-HEY-NOW.
Hi, it's John for Dick Hanna Broadway Ford at the Rose Quarter. Shop a gigantic selection at the home of the Northwest's largest indoor truck showroom, where you can get a new 06 F-150 just $99 down, $299 a month. $99 down, $299 a month only at Dick Hanna Broadway Ford at the Rose Quarter.
I'm Bill Fitzgerald, and here's what's happening. More deaths from that Indonesian tsunami are now being reported. An earthquake sent the tsunami crashing into beach resorts on Java Island. The AP now saying more than 300 people are dead, dozens more missing. Thousands were forced to flee the area, which was spared by the devastating Asian tsunami of 2004. In Boston, more problems for the Big Dig tunnel, where a ceiling collapsed last week. Late Monday, Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney said over 1,100 bolts near that collapsed area are unreliable. Inspectors have been studying the Big Dig tunnel since a woman was crushed to death last week. Gas prices continue to climb higher. The average price for a gallon of gas in the U.S. now stands at $2.99. That's a jump of 2 cents from just last week, and it's the highest since Hurricane Katrina disrupted petroleum supplies last September. At this time last year, gas was 67 cents cheaper. You're up to date. Let's go back now to Hardball with Chris Matthews.
Welcome back to Hardball. New Israeli attacks on southern Beirut are going on right now. The new wave of attacks comes after days of violence between Israel and Hezbollah. Israel says it will stop fighting if the two kidnapped Israelis are returned and if Hezbollah militants withdraw from the border. But Hezbollah has so far rejected all ceasefire proposals as Israeli conditions. Plus, Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice gets set to go to the Middle East. We'll get into all of it with NBC News Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent Andrea Mitchell and Washington Post columnist David Ignatius. But first, let's go directly to the Wall Street Journal's Carby Leggett in Jerusalem. Carby, I read this amazing story by you this morning in the Wall Street Journal that Israel's true objectives here is to get those 13,000 rockets being held by Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that the realization in Israel is that as long as these rockets exist, they will pose a threat to daily life in Israel, economically, politically, and in terms of security.
So the question is that long-range objective a current objective, or is the Prime Minister of Israel speaking clearly when he says that all he wants is the two GIs back, the two Israeli soldiers back, and a movement back from the border by Hezbollah? Which is it, the longer-term objective or the short-term claim of an objective?
Well, I think what is included from Israel's perspective in having Hezbollah removed from the border area is also its disarmament. Israel continues to point to 1559, the UN Security Council resolution that calls for the disarmament of all Lebanese militias, and says that it's the responsibility of the world community to get this carried out. So that's its ultimate goal, is to have the weapons of Hezbollah taken off the table.
Okay, give us your sense now, looking forward over the next week or two. Do you believe that Israel's pointing toward an opportunity for Hezbollah to get out of this?
I think to a large degree, both sides are not eager to see this spill into a major regional conflict. I think the risk here is that at this point, we're seeing a sort of a daily dose of tit-for-tat escalation. Just now, a while ago, another 50 missiles were fired at Israel. The military continues to operate. So the risk is something big happens. Hezbollah hits a petrochemical plant, and Israel then is forced to escalate to a level that goes far beyond what we have now.
Okay, thank you very much, Carby Leggett, who's on the phone from Jerusalem. Great piece in the Wall Street Journal today, Darby. Let's bring in NBC News Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent Andrea Mitchell and Washington Post columnist David Ignatius. Andrea, you're always on top of these things. Is there something to be on top of right now? Is there a real peace effort at this point?
There isn't a peace effort from the United States and not from Israel, because the real goal of Israel, as stated very publicly, is to take out those Hezbollah rockets, particularly the larger and longer range missiles that they have long feared. They claim that they took out one rocket with a 1,200-pound warhead that has a 65-mile-plus range, which could reach Tel Aviv. And they say they did it. U.S. intelligence says don't disbelieve that. In other words, we don't have hard confirmation on the ground, but so far they have found that Israel's claims have been correct on these matters, that Hezbollah has this increasingly large and lethal arsenal supplied by Iran, and unless and until the Lebanese government can control that southern Lebanese area, that border area, and a considerable buffer zone to that area, Israel will continue this.
Not to be demoralizing to the Israeli cause in terms of their perspective, but what stops one of the allies of Hezbollah to simply replace any rockets destroyed by Israel.
That's exactly why Israel has been bombing every access to Lebanon, the ports, the bridges, the airport, the roads from the road from Damascus. They have tried to stop that resupply as well as stopping any exit for those captured soldiers that could be, brought across the border to Syria.
Let me go to David Ignatius. You've always struck me as somewhere in the middle politically and trying to understand this Mideast crisis that never seems to end. Do you think this one will have an ending in the near term? Will there be a peace ceasefire based upon mutual purposes here?
Well, it's entirely likely there'll be a ceasefire down the road. I think Israel wants to keep shooting, wants to keep attacking, having gone in until it really has degraded Hezbollah's military capability. The problem, what worries me, is that the real consequence of what's happened over the last week is that the Lebanese government, in which the United States has a big investment, this was one of the few U.S. success stories in the region, really is going to have trouble recovering. The idea that it can easily assert authority again, take control, disarm Hezbollah, which Israelis talk about as their goal, it's a wonderful idea. I just don't see it happening as a consequence of this war.
Dan Ayalon was just on. I want you both to respond to this. Dan Ayalon, of course, a well-known ambassador in the United States from Israel, says that he believes that the heart and mind of the Lebanese government is to try to get rid of Hezbollah, but they're afraid to say anything till they're crushed. Is that accurate, Andrea?
Well, I think that was initially the heart and mind of the Lebanese government, but they have now seen the infrastructure of their country destroyed by Israel. And that is exactly what David Ignatius has just said is the real risk, that there is a tipping point here. This government couldn't control its own social services. Hezbollah had gradually become the most popular political force, Shia political force in Lebanon as it was, and actually crossing sectarian grounds there by providing social services, by controlling some of the domestic ministries, by electing people to local officials and to parliament. They were a government force on the civilian side, as well as controlling those militias that are supported with great amounts of money from Iran.
So,
and
David,
there's a real risk here that this government will collapse and you will have a civil war, exactly what David is outlining.
Okay, let's take a look right now, move to a somewhat lighter vein, potentially. It also has consequences. President Bush today, let's take a look at what he said today in the meeting when he was still over in St. Petersburg.
The only thing I think is really difficult is we can't stop this unless you get this international business agreement.
I think Connie's going to go pretty soon.
Well, that's all that matters. But if you see, it'll take some time to get that.
Yeah.
But at least it gives people.
There's some process. I agree.
At which you.
I told her your offer too.
Well, it's only if it's if she's got to, or if she needs the ground prepared, as it were. Because obviously, if she goes out, she's got to succeed, as it were. Whereas I can go out and just.
See, the irony is that what they need to do is get Syria to get Hezbollah to stop doing it, and they so.
Well, skipping the expletive, Andrea, what does it mean to get Syria to stop Hezbollah from doing what it's doing? Is that as simple as he made it sound?
Not at all, because, I mean, he may be correct that there has been not enough pressure from Kofi Annan and others with relationships with Damascus, but, I mean, let's look back. Warren Christopher went 33 times to Damascus and was criticized for rather ineffectual shuttle diplomacy, but we have no relationship with Damascus for a lot of reasons on both sides. This administration has basically put off limits direct talks with Syria or with Iran. So we have no leverage with either party. We have to rely on others. And to get Syria now to back off, why would it be in Syria's interest to back off when, in fact, Hezbollah is its proxy?
Let me ask you, David, I've been reading your columns for years, but you've got contacts in the Druze community, Vali John Blopp and all those people over there. Are they all anti-American now?
Well, I think
anti-Israeli.
Well, no Lebanese like to see their country pounded, and you wouldn't want to go around waving an Israeli flag in Lebanon. There are many Lebanese who are sick of Hezbollah. The idea of this militia, which has pitched Israel across the border, taking out bridges, power stations, making life miserable for Lebanese, that upsets people, and they're sick of it. I think the key here is to have a more aggressive, engaged U.S. Diplomacy in this part of the world. As Andrea said, we don't even have an ambassador in Damascus who could start this process. If we want to build up the Lebanese government so that it someday can control all the territory of Lebanon, make it safer for everybody, for Israelis, for Lebanese, for everybody, we've got to get more involved. That's not going to happen. I mean, President Bush, in that comment that was picked up by the microphone, talks as if diplomacy is a little spigot you can turn off and on. Let's send Condi, let's pick up the phone, let's have Kofi do this. It doesn't work that way. It requires sustained engagement over time, and that's been missing, and we're paying the price for it.
Why is he so different than his father?
Dr. Freud.
Dr. Freud needs to come in on this, I think. His father was a person who knew the Middle East deeply. He traveled it. He knew the leaders. He knew it from an intelligence standpoint. He'd run the CIA. The texture, the feel on your fingertips of the Middle East, the father had. The son never really has had that. To him, I think, as to many Israeli leaders, this is really about toughness, about standing up to adversaries. It's not about the feel and texture of diplomacy.
And in fact, Chris, if I may second that, the only foreign trip that George W. Bush took before becoming president was to Israel. And Ariel Sharon, this was when he was defense minister, I believe, or housing minister in charge of settlements, not when he was prime minister even, took him north in a helicopter to see the proximity of that border
I know that
area.
trip very well. I've been on it. It's called the Likud trip.
Exactly.
I know that trip.
And that is to, toughen up American politicians and other visitors to just how vulnerable Israel really is. But he had not been to Europe. He had not been, aside from as a kid with his father, to Asia when his father was the special envoy in Beijing. He had not been anyplace else in the world. So his sole experience is really through an Israeli prism.
Welcome right back. It's getting very interesting here. Andrea Mitchell and David Ignacio are staying with us. And when we do return, we'll get an update on the evacuation of Americans trapped in Lebanon right now. This is Hardball, only on MSNBC.
Like the leading mouthwash, Crest Pro Health Oral Rinse kills 99% of common germs that can cause bad breath, plaque, and gingivitis, giving you the mouthwash benefits that dentists recommend most, but without the burn of alcohol. Kills germs without the burn.
The Jewelry Exchange gives you quality at the right price. Circle Love pendants are $89. Diamond bands with 11 full-cut diamonds are $119, and 1/3 carat studs are $99. The Jewelry Exchange with factory direct superstores nationwide and online at jewelryexchange.com.
All these beautiful oceanfront hotels. And we end up in this one. Nice going, Chuck.
Your hotel not what you thought it would be? Next time, send in the experts at Hotels.com. They've summarized thousands of unbiased reviews from travelers like you. And with their price guarantee, you know you'll get the right hotel at the right price. So log on or call now. Hotels.com. We know hotels inside and out.
Coming up, the Pentagon makes plans to evacuate thousands of U.S. citizens from Lebanon. Can they get them out safely while the fighting is still going on? When Hardball returns.
You're home, by the pool, sipping on a cool one. Then your boss calls to tell you Friday's presentation has been moved to tomorrow. You're at home, and your presentation is on your office PC an hour away. You need GoToMyPC, and you can try it free right now. With GoToMyPC, you can access your PC over the internet from anywhere in the world. You're at the big game. Your cell rings, and the boss says you have to ship a week early. Your team is winning, but you'll lose your job if you don't change the order on your PC by 5. You need GoToMyPC, and you can try it free right now. With GoToMyPC, you can access your PC over the internet from anywhere in the world. You're scaling Mount Fuji. Your partner calls. He says he didn't get the revised budget, and if you can't get it to him today, you'll lose the client. You're at 15,000 feet, and the budget is at your office in Phoenix. You need GoToMyPC, and you can try it free right now. With GoToMyPC, you can access your PC over the internet from anywhere in the world. Work on your files, use any program, check email, and access any network resource, just as if you were sitting at your own PC. With GoToMyPC, setup is easy. It works flawlessly, and best of all, you can try it free right now. You're fishing in Montana, and you've hooked the big one. Then your boss calls because he can't find the financials. You're up to your waist in mountain spring water, and the financials are on your PC at home. You need GoToMyPC, and you can try it free right now. With GoToMyPC, you can access your PC over the internet from anywhere in the world. So what are you waiting for? Try GoToMyPC free right now.
For this special offer, visit GoToMyPC.com and use promo code MSNBC. That's GoToMyPC.com, promo code MSNBC. Try GoToMyPC free today.
Tomorrow, 25,000 Americans trapped in a war zone. What will it take to get every U.S. citizen to safety? Scarborough Country, MSNBC, tomorrow at 9. Tomorrow, Lebanon, a nation torn apart by decades of civil war. Now, ground zero in a violent international conflict. How did the country end up in such crisis? And where will it go from here? The Mideast Crisis, an MSNBC special report. Tomorrow at 10, only on MSNBC.
Welcome back to Hardball. As the fighting rages on between Israel and Hezbollah, 25,000 Americans remain in Lebanon tonight. Plans are underway to evacuate them, to get them out, at least those who want to get out. NBC's Pentagon correspondent Jim Milkasesi joins us now with the latest. Mick, how many...
Chris, the State Department estimates that of the 25,000 Americans in Lebanon, 24,000 of those have dual citizenship, Lebanese and U.S. And they estimate that only about 5,000 of those may want to get out of Lebanon and fast. So far, U.S. military helicopters have airlifted only 63 Americans out of Lebanon to the nearby island of Cyprus. And at that rate, it would take forever to evacuate all 5,000 or so. So beginning tomorrow, the U.S. has chartered a Greek cruise ship, the Orient Queen, to begin ferrying Americans 750 at a time for the 5-hour sail from Lebanon to Cyprus. Now, the U.S. warship, the USS Gonzales, a destroyer, will accompany and escort the Greek cruise ship and provide force protection. And within days, some 2,200 Marines and amphibious task force, including the aircraft carrier Iwo Jima, are expected to arrive in the area, again to provide force protection if needed. But U.S. military and Pentagon officials say those warships will maintain a discreet distance from the shoreline of Lebanon so as not to provide any provocation or targets. Because after all, it was in the early 80s that the U.S. was attacked twice by Hezbollah when they bombed the U.S. Embassy and the Marine barracks at the Beirut International Airport, killing 241 Marines. Chris?
Thank you. NBC's Jim Milkasesi at the Pentagon. We're back right now with NBC News Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent Andrew Mitchell and Washington Post columnist David Ignatius. Listening to Dan Ayalon today, the Israeli ambassador, I thought I was listening to a Bush administration official, Andrew, because he kept talking about how everybody who is opposed to us or Israel in that whole region of the country or region of the world is basically the same person. They're a terrorist. Are they sort of aping our line or we're aping their line? What is it now?
Well, I think there's a confluence of interests here between the United States and Israel. The U.S. would not mind at all and is permitting, through its green light diplomatically, permitting Israel to go after Hezbollah because the U.S., this administration clearly wants Hezbollah wiped out, wants to be able to also deal an indirect blow to Iran, its chief sponsor, and wants to try to stand up that democracy. But as David and I were, discussing with you just a minute ago, the real problem is whether that Lebanese fledgling democracy, which was created with the withdrawal of Syrian forces 18 months ago, can really stand up with it having been beaten down so far and with the infrastructure of Lebanon so badly destroyed.
David, the same question. Are we speaking the same language? The government over there, which is sort of a combination of Likud and somewhere more moderating forces, and this administration, are they speaking the same worldview here?
Increasingly it is the same language. I have this weird sense of deja vu, Chris. I was in Beirut in 1982 when the Israelis invaded. That was another big roll of the dice. It was an effort to transform the situation. That time the terrorists were the PLO and Yasser Arafat. Israelis rolled their tanks all the way to Beirut thinking, we'll finally crush them in their lair. That proved to be a strategic disaster for Israel by the account of every Israeli I talked to. And I worry that in a sense Israel may be repeating the same mistake. It's understandable they want to go after the people who were firing rockets at their cities, who were kidnapping their soldiers. The question is whether they've taken the bait of this adversary. Lebanon swallows up invaders, as we have found, as the Israelis found. It's a merciless kind of battlefield, and I just worry that at the end of this mini war, whatever you want to call it, Israel won't really be very much more secure than it was before it started, and that should worry everybody.
David Ignatius of the Washington Post, Andrew Mitchell of NBC News, our chief foreign affairs correspondent. When we return, we'll get back and give you the latest from Haifa, where Israelis continue to live with the threat, in fact, the reality of Hezbollah rockets. This is Hardball, only on MSNBC.
There's a great plan that lets you talk with each other days, nights, and weekends. Unlimited minutes, and the best thing about it, it's free. It's called the Family Plan. You just sit down and talk with each other. And there's no static, and the conversation is never dropped. Forget about roaming and text messaging charges. This plan is cheap and easy. Sign up for it today and get your family better connected. I love connected families.
This is the Zero Odor Kit, the amazing product that can eliminate pet odor and pet stains.
We have 2 dogs and lots of stains everywhere that I could not get out. I tried it on the carpet and it took the stain right out. That's amazing.
As skeptical as I was, it literally killed any odor we had for 2 cat boxes.
You're looking at an actual home video of an impossible pet urine stain. Zero Odor not only extracts the odor, but watch what it does to the stain. Zero Odor is a breakthrough in molecular science. Here's a pet urine stain that's even worse. Once again, Zero Odor removes the stain in this actual home video. Zero Odor can take pet odor out of furniture, drapes, dog beds, cars.
I will actually put my nose to the dog bedding and it's gone.
And Zero Odor can take pet odor and pet stains out of carpet. Zero Odor will also eliminate the awful smell of soiled cat litter.
I can't smell anything. It's gone.
Zero Odor is non-toxic and biodegradable, yet it even takes skunk odor down to zero. And it comes in 3 sizes. 22-ounce trigger spray that can eliminate pet stains and reduce pet odor to zero. 8-ounce that eliminates airborne pet odor, and a 4-ounce to zero out pet odor in cars. Our 22-ounce bottle, a 6-month supply, is only $19.95. If you order now, we'll also send you the car-size bottle, a $7.95 value, free. This offer is not in stores, only at zeroodorpet.com or 800-508-1935. Our guarantee, Zero Odor will remove your pet stains and pet odor, or we'll refund your full purchase price, including any shipping and handling. Now, we'd like to make our 2-bottle introductory offer irresistible. Order right now, and we'll also send you a 3rd bottle, the 8-ounce bottle for airborne pet odor, a $12.95 value, also absolutely free. Visit zeroodorpet.com or call 800-508-1935. And get the complete Zero Odor Kit, all 3 bottles of this amazing product, over a $40 value for only $19.95.
For 7 years, one man ruled the roads of France. But now, his reign has ended, and the battle for his throne is about to begin. Who are the men who would be king? The Cyclism Tour de France 2006. July 1st through the 23rd, only on OLN.
The Tour de France is brought to you locally by Bike and Hike.
Who keeps Washington County's creeks, wetlands, and Tualatin River clean? We all do.
Welcome back to Hardball. 3 Hezbollah rockets hit Haifa today, one striking a 3-story apartment house that had collapsed into the street. For an update on how Israel's 3rd largest city is bracing for more attacks from the air, we turn to USA Today reporter Tom Frank, who's there this evening. Tom, it looks to me like nobody wants a ceasefire. The President of the United States, Hezbollah, or Israel. What's going to happen?
Well, you just named 3 parties that don't want a ceasefire, but there are others that do want a ceasefire. I don't think that there is going to be one because Israel doesn't want to have a ceasefire, and you can't have a ceasefire without one of the main aggressors having one. I think that what's going to happen is that the diplomatic pressure will increase, and Israel will have to start to scale back its attacks, and ultimately I think you will see some efforts at diplomacy. I don't think you're going to see a United Nations force forming a buffer between Israel and Lebanon. You may see an international force, maybe a NATO force or a European force, but the United Nations is not very well regarded here in Israel.
What about the Lebanese government coming down and replacing Hezbollah on the Israeli border?
Well, if they could do it, they might. The problem is the Lebanese government is unstable. The Lebanese army is weak, and neither of them necessarily have the political or strength or muscle power to do that. So that's why there are a lot of people who are floating this idea of some kind of international force creating that buffer zone. Israel doesn't like the idea of an international force.
I know that well. Thank you,
Yeah.
Tom. We got to cut you short. Thank you very much for that great report. Tom Frank on the phone from Haifa. He's with USA Today. I myself keep thinking about America. What do we get out of all this fighting? Israel wants to crush Hezbollah. Hezbollah wants to lead and be seen leading the Arab front against Israel. But again, I keep thinking about America. What are we getting out of this fighting? I fear it's the usual suspects. More hatred of Israel in the 1 billion-fold Islamic world. More hatred of the United States for its 100% backing of Israel. That means more anger in the cafes of Cairo and Casablanca. More parents talking their bitterness. More young men joining the jihad. More recruits to the suicide ranks. More terrorism. I agree with something former President Bill Clinton said today. Israel may not be satisfied with a ceasefire. Hezbollah may not want a ceasefire. President Bush may not think a ceasefire is the key. But every time we can stop the fighting, we can stop the killing. And the less killing there is, the lesser the cry for revenge. The better the chance to get both sides to stop the overall fighting. And that it would